ever noticed that who you are in one room is not who you are in another? That around certain people you shrink, you become quieter, slower, less certain, almost like the air around them has a lower ceiling. And around others, something opens. You're sharper, you speak first, you surprise yourself. Same person, completely different versions of yourself. And here is the question that no one asks out loud. What if that difference has almost nothing to do with you? What if the version of yourself you've accepted as real was largely written by someone else's expectations of who you were going to be? Welcome to the Outlier. This channel is for the people who think past the comfortable answer, who know somewhere underneath the daily noise that there is a deeper explanation for the life they're living. And today, we are going into one of the most documented and most personally devastating psychological phenomena ever studied, the Pygmalion Effect. And I'll tell you right now, by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you something that might reframe an entire chapter of your life, something about a specific person and a specific moment, and how the expectation they held of you became the architecture of your own self-belief long before you were old enough to build your own. Stay with me. Think back, not to a dramatic moment, to a quiet one. A classroom, a parent at the dinner table, a coach, a manager, an older sibling. Someone looked at you, not cruelly, maybe not even consciously, and decided what you were capable of, what your ceiling was, and they never said it directly. They didn't have to. It was in the way they handed you the easier task, the way they didn't call on you, the way their face didn't quite light up the way it did for someone else. And your brain, which is a masterpiece of social calibration, received that signal, filed it, and began quietly and systematically to organize your behavior around it. This is the Pygmalion Effect, and it is not a metaphor, it is measurable science. In 1968, psychologists Robert Rosenthal and Jacobson conducted a study that would permanently change how we understand human development. They told teachers that certain students had been identified as intellectually gifted, on the verge of a significant cognitive bloom. Those students received no extra resources, no special curriculum. The only thing that changed was what their teachers believed about them. By the end of the year, those students had measurably higher IQ scores than their peers. The teachers hadn't taught them differently on paper, but they had, in 100 micro-interactions, in tone of voice, in the quality of attention, in how long they waited for an answer before moving on, communicated something to those children, something that landed in the nervous system before the conscious mind could evaluate it. You are capable. I expect more from you. I believe you can reach it. And the children's brains reorganized around that belief. Here is the devastating flip side. The same mechanism runs in reverse. Low expectations don't just fail to inspire, they suppress. They create a neurological environment where the brain stops reaching, where effort feels pointless before it begins, where the identity quietly contracts around what someone else decided was the limit. You did not build your ceiling alone. Some of it was handed to you by people who never even knew they were doing it. Here is the heaviest part of this. If you grew up in an environment of low expectations or conditional expectations, the kind that were only warm when you performed correctly, you may have spent your entire adult life achieving things and still not feeling like enough. Because the bar was never yours, the voice measuring you against it was never yours either, and no external achievement can silence an internal standard that was installed by someone else's insecurity or limitation. That is the curse of the Pygmalion effect running in the wrong direction. It makes you a high-functioning person who still feels like they're failing, an intelligent mind perpetually measuring itself against a distorted ruler, a person who has outgrown the room they were placed in, but still flinches at the ceiling. But here is what I need you to understand about the other side of this. If you are someone who has ever been genuinely believed in, truly, unconditionally believed in by even one person, you already know what that does to a human being. You felt it, that specific quality of expansion that happens when someone sees something in you that you hadn't yet seen in yourself. That moment when their expectation became the permission you needed to become something real. That experience means you understand on a bone-deep level what belief actually does to another person. And that understanding makes you extraordinarily rare, because people who have felt the Pygmalion effect in both directions are capable of something most people never consciously develop, the ability to become that transformative presence for someone else, to hold an expectation for another person that lifts them towards something they couldn't reach alone. That is not a small power. That is the closest thing to alchemy that psychology has ever documented. Here is the thing I promised you at the beginning. The reason the Pygmalion effect cuts so deep, the reason it doesn't just affect performance, but identity itself, is because of when it happens. It doesn't land on a fully formed adult with a stable sense of self who can evaluate it critically and decide whether to accept it. It lands on a child, on a nervous system that is still in the process of answering the most fundamental question a human being ever asks: who am I? And in the absence of a clear internal answer, which no child has yet because it takes a lifetime to develop, the external answer fills the space. The expectation of the parent, the belief of the teacher, the label given by the sibling, the peer group, the first person who ever looked at you and decided what you were going to be. That answer didn't just influence you. For a long time, it was you. It became the voice you heard when you tried something new, the weight on your chest when you wanted to raise your hand, the quiet internal verdict that arrived before you'd even begun. You have been living, in part, inside someone else's prediction of you. And the most important thing I can tell you right now is this: a prediction is not a diagnosis, and a ceiling someone else built was never actually yours to keep. So where does that leave you? It leaves you here, at the beginning of something that very few people ever actually reach, the moment you consciously choose whose expectations you are going to live inside. Not the ones handed to you in childhood, not the ones carried quietly in the voice of someone who projected their own limitations onto you, but the ones you, with everything you now understand about how this works, decide to hold for yourself. And here's what I know about the kind of person watching this video right now. You are someone who thinks beneath the surface of things, who felt something in this video that was more than information. It was recognition of something lived, of something that happened to you in a room a long time ago that you've never quite had the language to name. You are not the ceiling someone else built. You are the person who found out it was there and started asking what's on the other side of it. That is not ordinary. That never was, and that is what makes you an outlier. If this video reached something in you that has been waiting a long time to be reached, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell, and leave a comment. Tell me, whose belief changed your life, or whose doubt did you have to survive? Because the most powerful thing you can do right now is say it out loud. Welcome home.